Hi everyone, Mike G here with part 2 of the ceiling storage project. In this video I'm going to cover the LEDs and electronics as well as hanging this guy from the ceiling. First up, let's take a look at the circuit diagram. It's simplified. On the left represents LEDs, and as you can see there's 3 ganged together. Each one of those represents an LED strip, and then they feed into the power supply. So on the parts list here, the must-haves are the LED strips, the power supply, the connectors, and the remote control. Okay, so here's a couple of those parts. The connector I use comes with the wires attached, and typically the LEDs come about 5 meters or 16.4 feet. Shown here is a variety of different LED strips. There's 3 key metrics to consider when purchasing. First up is the color temperature, which typically goes from warm white all the way up to cool white. The LED size, and the third item is the number of LEDs per meter. Also note that they can come encapsulated in a gel type substance, making them suitable for outdoor use. So this is the LEDs that we're using on this project. They're 2835s, which just mean 2.8 millimeters by 3.5 millimeters. And it's one of the newer technologies in this space. Bottom line is, this reel will produce about 4,200 lumens, which is equal to about a shop light. Okay, here we have the LED strip, and notice how it slides under the 2 prongs that are in that connector. Here we have the power supply to power a strip of LEDs. This is just one type, not used in this project, but it's very convenient. You just plug it in, and on the other end is the connector. Very, very easy to use. But it's only 3 amps, and it's a little bulky. This is the power supply I used in this project. It's 10 amps, or can supply 120 watts, which is a lot of power. But the key thing for me was I needed to be able to fit it into a space of 1.75 inches. And it met that metric. It can be a real pain to try to get those wires under the screws, connect to the power supply. So I chose to use this ferrule connector. You just stick the wire in all the way down to the end. You get your little crimping tool going, crimp it up, and you're all set for a nice, easy way to connect to the power supply. Because the LEDs are likely to get a little warm because of the high density, I decided to use this metal tape to act as a heat sink. I decided that I was going to use some spray adhesive before putting the metal tape down, so I used this blue tape to protect the slots. So the metal tape has adhesive on it. I did spray the adhesive down first just to make sure I would never have a problem with it. So I finished pushing down this metal tape. What's coming up next is the testing of a reel of these LEDs. I already tested the first reel and the second reel, but I got a third reel, and that's what I'm going to be testing right here. So I hook it up to the power supply through the connector and all that good stuff. And then I also hook in my meter into it so that I can see what the current is. So this one works fine, and it's drawing right around 2.5 amps. So I'm going to spray this adhesive down before I put the LEDs. Now the LEDs do have a sticky back to them, and after I wire up the connector and I peel off that little backing, it has this 3M sticky stuff. But it really will come down after a while, so I use this adhesive and sort of, just like I did with the tape, it should never come off. Altogether here, I'll be putting down 3 rows of LEDs on each side. The length here is about 6 foot 10 inches. And essentially what that means is for each reel, I'm using about 500 of the 600 LEDs. So as I was shown that circuit diagram earlier, now we're going to actually wire those LEDs up here. So you can see the 3 strips of LEDs. So I'm going to hook the black and the black and the reds together, plus the one that's going to go to the power supply. So here I'm wiring them together, and then I'm going to solder them. And following the soldering, I'm going to stick on some heat shrink and then use my heat gun to shrivel it up, and the wire should be well protected. So the wiring is done, and now it's time to see what kind of current we're drawing. So on one side I'm getting, looks like about 3.9 amps, and on the other side I'd already had 4. So the wiring came out pretty neat. Now what I don't show here is the wire to the AC, the 110 volts from your wall. And I just ran the wire through the cover and wired it up to the power supply. So time to cut the plastic. You have to cut this for the covers. Now it's a 4-foot wide piece. I had to make 4 cuts, and then I had to make another 2 cuts to get it to fit into the 6-foot 10-inch space. So I removed the protective film from the plastic and just gotta work it into those slots. A little bit challenging. A few times it starts to pop out. Just gotta keep working at it. Once done though, it looks pretty good. So I ran it like this for a while, which turned out to be a mistake because the power supply is upside down and it overheated. So in the end, I ended up removing the middle LED strips from each side. The impact of that was we went from about 10,000 lumens to maybe 6,500. So to hang this, I used what you see here. So I cut the aluminum at 1.5-inch intervals. I cut 8 of them, and then I drill holes on each side of the angle. So these are being used to make the overall bracket that's going to mount into the ceiling. And this allows me to put the brackets in line with the studs. So here they are. Now to prep, I needed to put these little pieces of metal on there, and I bent them in. The idea being they hang off of this rope on each end. Let's see what happens. So after a couple failed attempts, this is the attempt that actually worked. So I've got that hanging there, just push that baby right up. And on the other side, I'll complete the hanging. Now I had pre-drilled all the holes in the shelf assembly here so that once I got it up, all I had to do was lift it up, pull out a bolt, and stick her in there. So that's what I'm doing. And initially I just used any available hole, and then I went back and made everything lined up the way it was supposed to. So the final test is the garage door test. Nothing broke. Everything seems pretty strong. Actually hung from the shelf in a few different places just to be sure. So last on my list is just thank you all for watching my little video here.